The rain came down in sheets that Thursday afternoon, turning the supermarket parking lot into a maze of puddles and rushing water. Amy Fletcher pushed a line of shopping carts through the downpour, her blonde ponytail plastered to her neck, her red work polo soaked through. At 28, she'd been working at Save Mart for 6 years, ever since her own dreams of college had evaporated, along with her savings when her mother got sick. She didn't mind the work, not really. It was honest and her co-workers were kind, and the regular customers knew her name. But on days like this, when the rain was relentless and her feet ached and she knew she'd go home to her tiny apartment with its leaking ceiling and empty refrigerator, Amy couldn't help but wonder if this was all her life would ever be. She was wrestling the last few carts into the corral when she heard it, a sound that cut through the rain and the thunder, a sound that made every maternal instinct she possessed snap to attention. A child crying. Not the usual whining or tantrum crying, but the desperate, terrified sobbing of someone truly in distress. Amy spun around, scanning the parking lot. At first, she saw nothing but rain and cars. Then, near a black SUV 3 rows over, she spotted movement. A little girl, maybe 3 years old, stood alone in the downpour. She wore a pink dress that clung to her small frame, her blonde curls darkened by water. In her arms, she clutched a stuffed white rabbit, holding it like a lifeline. Without thinking, Amy ran toward her, her work shoes splashing through puddles. As she got closer, she could see the child was shaking, her lips turning blue from the cold. The little girl's eyes were wide with fear, darting around the parking lot as if searching for something she couldn't find. "Sweetheart, where's your mommy?" Amy called out as she approached, trying to keep her voice calm despite her racing heart. The child just sobbed harder, stumbling backward toward the moving traffic lane. "No, honey, stop!" Amy lunged forward, scooping the little girl into her arms just as a car came speeding around the corner, its brakes screeching as the driver nearly lost control on the wet pavement. The car swerved, missing them by mere feet. Amy's heart hammered as she held the trembling child close. The stuffed rabbit squashed between them. The little girl buried her face in Amy's shoulder, her small body racked with sobs. "It's okay, baby. I've got you." "You're safe now," Amy murmured, rubbing the child's back. She could feel the little girl's heart racing against her own chest. Amy looked around desperately for a parent, for anyone who might be looking for this child. The parking lot was busy, but everyone seemed focused on getting to their cars, heads down against the rain. How long had this little girl been out here alone? She was about to carry the child inside the store when she noticed a black limousine parked in the far corner of the lot, its engine running, even as the thought crossed her mind that it seemed out of place at a discount grocery store. The back door flew open. A man emerged, and even in the rain, Amy could see the panic etched across his face. He was in his late 30s, wearing an expensive suit that was quickly getting ruined by the downpour. His dark hair was slicked back, and there was something commanding about his presence even in his obvious distress. He ran toward them with an urgency that spoke of pure terror. "Mia!" His voice cracked on the name. "Oh, God, Mia!" The little girl's head shot up at the sound of his voice. "Daddy!" she wailed, reaching for him. The man, who Amy now recognized as the child's father, reached them in seconds. His hands were shaking as he took his daughter from Amy's arms, crushing her to his chest. Amy could see tears mixing with the rain on his face. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." "Daddy's here now!" He pressed kisses to the top of her wet head, his whole body trembling. Then he looked at Amy, and she saw something in his dark eyes that made her chest tighten. Fear, yes, but also profound gratitude. "She ran out," he said, his voice rough. "I was on a phone call in the car. I looked away for just a minute to check a document. When I looked up, she'd opened the door and was gone. I've been searching for 5 minutes." 5 minutes. He said it like a confession, like an admission of the worst failure imaginable. "She's okay now," Amy said gently. "She's safe. That's what matters." The man looked at her then, really looked at her, taking in her soaked work uniform, her name tag that read, "Amy, happy to help," the concern still evident on her face. "You saved her life," he said simply. "That car, if you hadn't grabbed her," his voice broke. "But I did," Amy assured him. "She's all right. Just cold and scared. You should probably get her somewhere warm." The little girl, Mia, had stopped crying now, but she shivered violently in her father's arms. Amy pulled off her own cardigan, which had been somewhat protected under her raincoat, and draped it around the child's shoulders. "Here, sweetheart. This will help until you get inside." Mia looked up at her with red-rimmed blue eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, clutching both the cardigan and her rabbit. The father was staring at Amy with an expression she couldn't quite read. "I need to repay you. Please, let me do something. Anything." Amy shook her head, water dripping from her ponytail. "I don't need anything. I'm just glad she's safe. You should go. Get her dry and warm. At least tell me your full name." "I'm Marcus Donovan." The name sounded vaguely familiar, but Amy couldn't place it. "Amy Fletcher. I work here." "Really, Mr. Donovan, you don't owe me anything. Anyone would have done the same." Marcus shook his head slowly. "No, not anyone. Most people walk right past someone in need, especially in weather like this. You didn't. That means something?" Before Amy could respond, her manager's voice crackled over the radio clipped to her belt. "Amy, we need you back inside. Cart situation in the front." She sighed. "I have to go. Please just take care of your daughter." As Amy turned to head back to the store, Marcus called after her. "I won't forget this, Amy Fletcher." She waved without turning around, already putting the incident out of her mind. It was just part of the job, helping people. She'd done what anyone with a conscience would do. But as she pushed through the store's automatic doors, shivering in her wet clothes, Amy didn't see Marcus Donovan stand in the rain for a long moment, watching her go, his daughter safe in his arms, a thoughtful expression on his face. The next morning, Amy arrived for her 7 a.m. shift to find her manager, Harold, waiting for her with an odd expression on his face. "Amy, I need you in my office." Her stomach dropped. Had she done something wrong? Had saving that little girl somehow violated some policy she didn't know about? Harold's office was small and cluttered, but sitting in one of the chairs was someone who definitely didn't belong there. Marcus Donovan, wearing another impeccable suit, this one charcoal gray, looking completely out of place among the clipboards and scheduling sheets. "Mr. Fletcher," Marcus stood as she entered. "Thank you for meeting with me." "I didn't know I had a choice," Amy said carefully, looking between him and Harold. "You always have a choice," Marcus said quietly. "I just hoped you'd hear me out." Harold cleared his throat. "I'll give you two some privacy." He practically scurried out of his own office. Amy remained standing, her arms crossed. "What's this about, Mr. Donovan?" "Is Mia okay?" "She's fine, thanks to you. She keeps asking about the nice lady who saved me." His smile was soft, genuine. "I need to ask you something, and I know it's going to sound strange." "Okay," Amy said slowly. "I'm a single father. My wife died when Mia was just a year old. Cancer, very aggressive. Since then, it's been me and Mia and a rotating cast of nannies who never quite work out. Either they're too strict and Mia rebels or too lenient and she runs wild. Yesterday wasn't the first time she's pulled a disappearing act, though it was certainly the most dangerous." Amy's heart ached for both of them. "I'm sorry about your wife, but I'm not sure what this has to do with me." Marcus leaned forward. "Last night, Mia couldn't stop talking about you. About how you didn't yell at her. How you held her like her mother used to. How you made her feel safe. This morning, she asked if you could be her new nanny." Amy blinked. "I'm not a nanny, Mr. Donovan. I work here." "I know, and I'm not asking you to quit, not exactly. I'm asking if you'd consider a different position. Working for my family, helping me take care of Mia." He named a salary that made Amy's knees go weak. It was more than triple what she made at the store. "That's insane," she whispered. "You don't even know me. I know you ran through a parking lot in a thunderstorm to save a child who wasn't yours. I know you risked your life when that car came too close. I know my daughter, who hasn't trusted anyone in months, felt safe with you in less than 5 minutes." Marcus's voice was intense but not pushy. "I've spent 2 years interviewing nannies with perfect credentials and flawless references. None of them had what you showed me yesterday: instinct, compassion, genuine care." Amy sank into a chair, her mind reeling. "This is crazy. You're talking about me being responsible for your child, based on 5 minutes in a parking lot. I'm talking about giving you a chance based on 5 minutes, where you showed more heart than most people show in a lifetime." He paused. "I had my team do a background check." "I hope you don't mind," Amy bristled. "You investigated me?" I'm a father first, Amy. I had to make sure. But what I found only confirmed what I already knew. You've worked 3 jobs at once to pay your mother's medical bills. You volunteer at a children's literacy program on weekends. Every performance review from every job you've ever had mentions your kindness, your reliability, your work ethic. You're exactly the kind of person I want in my daughter's life. Who are you? Amy asked suddenly. I mean, I know your name, but who are you really? Marcus smiled slightly. I own Donovan Industries. We do commercial real estate development primarily. The limousine, the security team, the resources to run a background check overnight. It all comes with territory. I never wanted but inherited when my father died. Amy remembered seeing something in the news about Donovan Industries. They were huge, worth billions. And this man was offering her a job taking care of his daughter. I need to think about this, she said finally. Of course. Take all the time you need. Marcus pulled out a card. My personal cell number. Call me when you decide. After he left, Amy sat in Harold's office for a long time, staring at the business card. The sensible part of her brain said this was insane. You didn't take a job based on one dramatic encounter. You didn't upend your entire life on a stranger's offer. But the part of her brain that remembered, Mia's small body shaking with cold and fear, that remembered how the little girl had looked at her with such trust, that part was already halfway to saying yes. That evening, Amy went to visit her mother at the assisted living facility, where she'd moved after her stroke. Patricia Fletcher was only 62, but the stroke had aged her, making her seem fragile in a way that broke Amy's heart. You look troubled, sweetheart, her mother said as Amy helped her with dinner. Amy told her everything. The rescue, the offer, the impossible decision. Her mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took Amy's hand with her good one. Baby, do you remember what I used to tell you when you were little and scared to try something new? That the best things in life usually require a leap of faith, Amy said softly. Exactly. You've spent 6 years putting your life on hold to take care of me. I love you for it. But it's also broken my heart watching you sacrifice everything. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. This could be your chance, Amy. Not just for a better job, but for a real family. That little girl needs you. And from what you've told me, you need her too. 3 days later, Amy called Marcus Donovan and accepted the position. The first few weeks were an adjustment. Marcus's penthouse apartment was larger than any house Amy had ever been in. Mia had her own wing, complete with a playroom that looked like something out of a toy store. There was a full-time housekeeper, a cook who came in for dinner, and security personnel who made Amy nervous until she realized they were just doing their jobs. But Mia made it all worthwhile. The little girl attached herself to Amy immediately, following her everywhere, wanting to help with everything. They baked cookies in the enormous kitchen. They read stories in the library. They played dress-up in Mia's closet, which had more clothes than Amy had owned in her entire life. And slowly, Amy got to know Marcus Donovan not as a wealthy CEO, but as a father desperately trying to do right by his daughter, while running a company that employed thousands of people. She saw him on the floor, building block towers with Mia. Before early morning conference calls, she watched him review business presentations, while helping his daughter practice her alphabet. She noticed how his face, usually so serious in business mode, transformed when Mia laughed. One evening, about 2 months into Amy's tenure, Marcus found her on the balcony after Mia had gone to bed. The city spread out below them, glittering with lights. She's asleep? He asked, handing her a cup of tea. Out like a light. We had a big day at the park. Amy accepted the tea gratefully. Marcus leaned against the railing beside her. I need to thank you again. Mia's different now, happier, more settled. She's stopped having nightmares about her mother dying. She talks about her mother sometimes, Amy said gently. I think that's healthy. She needs to remember. I know. And I appreciate that you don't try to replace those memories. You just make new ones alongside them. He was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you regret leaving your old life? I know it wasn't glamorous, but it was yours. This, he gestured to the penthouse. It comes with constraints. Less freedom, more responsibility. Amy thought about her old apartment with its leaky ceiling, the constant worry about money, the bone-deep exhaustion of working multiple jobs. Then she thought about Mia's laughter, about bedtime stories and finger painting. and the way the little girl had started, calling her Ames with such affection. "I don't regret it for a second," she said honestly. "That day in the parking lot, I thought I was just doing what anyone would do. But it turned out to be the best decision I never knew I was making." Marcus turned to look at her, and in his eyes, Amy saw something that made her breath catch. Gratitude, yes, but also something deeper, something that had been growing between them over late-night conversations after Mia's bedtime, over shared smiles at breakfast, over the quiet intimacy of building a life together. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly, "and I don't want you to feel pressured. If this makes you uncomfortable, we'll pretend I never said it, and everything will go on exactly as before." Amy's heart started racing. "Okay, I'm falling in love with you, Amy Fletcher." The words were simple, direct, honest. "I've been fighting it because you work for me, because I didn't want to make things complicated, because I was afraid of ruining what we have. But Mia asked me today when I was going to marry you so you could be her real mom, and I realized I couldn't keep pretending my feelings weren't there." Amy set down her teacup with shaking hands. "Marcus, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know, because every day I watch you with my daughter, watch you bring light into our lives, and I think about how empty this place was before you, how empty I was." "I'm falling in love with you too," Amy interrupted softly. "I have been for weeks, but I didn't think someone like you could ever want someone like me. Not really. Not for keeps." Marcus reached out and cupped her face gently. "Someone like you? You mean someone kind, brave, genuine, and perfect for both me and my daughter? Amy, you're not some grocery clerk I'm settling for. You're the woman I've been waiting for without knowing it." He kissed her then, soft and sweet on that balcony high above the city, and Amy felt something inside her shift and settle, like pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. 6 months later, on a bright Saturday afternoon, Amy and Marcus were married in a small ceremony in the penthouse garden. Mia served as flower girl, wearing a pink dress that she'd insisted on picking out herself. She carried the same stuffed rabbit she'd had that rainy day in the parking lot, now wearing a tiny bow tie for the occasion. As Amy walked down the makeshift aisle, she caught sight of her mother in the front row, tears streaming down her face but smiling wider than Amy had seen in years. Eleanor was fully covered by insurance now, in a much better facility thanks to Marcus's quiet intervention. When the officiant asked if anyone objected to the union, Mia's little voice piped up, "I don't object. I want Amy to be my mommy forever and ever." Everyone laughed, including the officiant, and Marcus had to crouch down to explain that not objecting meant you agreed, which Mia definitely did. That evening, after the small reception and after Mia had finally been convinced to go to sleep, Amy and Marcus stood on their balcony again, in almost the same spot where they'd first confessed their feelings. "Do you ever think about that day?" Marcus asked, his arm around her waist. "What would have happened if it had rained just a little less? If I'd noticed Mia was gone just a few seconds sooner? If you'd been inside gathering carts instead of outside?" Amy leaned into him. "I think about it sometimes. About all the small moments that had to align perfectly for us to find each other. But then I think about Mia, about how she's doing in kindergarten now, about how she calls me Mom without any hesitation, about how we're a real family, and I think maybe some things are just meant to be." "The parking lot angel," Marcus said with a smile. "That's what the security footage showed. 1 minute Mia's in danger. The next, there's an angel in a red shirt saving her life." "I'm no angel," Amy protested. "I'm just someone who cared enough to help." "That's what makes you an angel," Marcus said softly. "The caring. Most people walk through life never really seeing the people around them. You see everyone. You saw a scared little girl. You saw a desperate father. You saw all of us when we needed someone most." Inside, they heard Mia calling out, "Mommy, Daddy, I had a bad dream." Amy and Marcus exchanged a look and smiled. "Duty calls," she said. They went inside together to comfort their daughter, to chase away bad dreams, to be the family that had formed from rain and fear and won. Woman's split-second decision, to run toward danger instead of away from it. Years later, when Mia was older and asked about how her parents met, they would tell her the story of the rainy parking lot, the limousine, the moment everything changed. And Mia would smile and say she'd known all along that Amy was meant to be her M,